Oh boy, man, the rumors, the ideas, they are popping up and we are diving headfirst into all of them. Okay, maybe not all of them because there were a lot of ideas tossed out in this one article, but today we're talking about the Colorado Avalanche, a team that has had a very peculiar start to the NHL season. The reason I say that is because the Avalanche, a team that many would say is one of the best teams in the league, are currently 28th overall in the league. They're not really doing all too hot, despite the fact that if you go over to the NHL and the current points leaders, Cale Makar is tied for first in overall points, Mikko Rantanen is tied for fourth with Nathan MacKinnon and Evgeny Malkin, and you also have yourselves Ross Colton, who is a top 3 goal scorer in the NHL right now. The Colorado Avalanche are in a very strange position where they have guys that are producing points. They have guys that are leading the league in assists, but they're in the bottom quarter of the league. Why is that? Well, the fact is, with the injuries given out and with the absences of guys like Jonathan Drouin, Valeri Nichushkin, and others, the Colorado Avalanche have pretty much all of their eggs in one basket. Their top line of Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Ross Colton has been torching teams to death, and I think Ross Colton has been one of the most absolute value pickups that you can have in NHL fantasy this year because of it. The defense, you've got Cale Makar, who is pulling his weight. He's doing everything Makar is expected to do and more, but the rest of the team is just kind of meh. Especially the team's bottom 6. I mean, you've got Parker Kelly, Ivan, Kiviranta, Matthew Steinberg, all in there. The Colorado Avalanche are a very top-heavy team at the moment with all the injuries and absentees. Not to mention the fact that their goaltending, PU, it has absolutely stunk this year. Heading over to the Colorado Avalanche and their goaltending situation, this is where things get kind of funky. Right now, you have yourselves Alexander Georgiev, who, in 5 games played, has an .810 save percentage and a .499 goals against average. You also have Justus Annunen, who has, in 3 games played, an .884 save percentage and a .270 goals against. Now, a .270 is not the worst goals against in the world. An .884 certainly is a lot better than an .810, but still, the Avalanche have not been getting quality goaltending this year. And if you just look at the game log, I mean, Alexander Georgiev has been on a heater of bad performances, night in and night out, even on his only win of the season, the 4-3 overtime thriller against the Anaheim Ducks. He had an .850 save percentage in that game. Not to mention his .688 save percentage to open up the year, his .667 save percentage in the very next game. He has slowly been making his way up, but it's to the point that the best game that he had was an .861 save percentage in a 6-2 loss to the New York Islanders. Justus Annunen, a guy whom a lot of people thought was going to be the next great one in net for Colorado, hasn't really been pulling his weight either. Now, to be fair to Annunen, he's only 24 years old. There's a lot more development for him to go through, and he's coming off of a .962 save percentage victory over the San Jose Sharks. Then again, though, it's the San Jose Sharks. Either way, the Colorado Avalanche goaltending situation is far from stable, and with the team potentially trying to put themselves in a position to contend again, because that's kind of what you want to do when you've got Nathan MacKinnon and Makar signed onto these contracts, whilst Mikko Rantanen is still here, the conversations about goaltending acquisitions have opened up. Let's head over to the Denver Post, because this article published by Corey Masisak from October 19th, 2024, goes out there and asks the very simple question. What is the short-term and long-term outlook at goal for Colorado? Spoiler, if the answer moving forward is not Alexander Georgiev, it could be tricky to replace him. The article goes out there and talks about how some of the best teams in recent NHL history have won the Stanley Cup without dedicating a lot of salary cap space to goalies, including the Avs in 2022. But the Lightning and the Panthers have also won the title recently and are spending quite a bit of money on their Vezina Trophy winning netminders. There's been a philosophy in some NHL circles that goalies are a bit like running backs. Unpredictable year-to-year performance, often with shorter peaks than players at other positions, but the very best are still worth big bucks. it does appear that more GMs around the NHL have decided to splurge if they believe they've found the right guy. This is where the article goes out there and talks about how the Avalanche have had a goaltending problem, and between the Alexander Georgievs and Justus Anunins, you also have Kaapo Kähkönen, who has never really proven he can be a number one guy for a significant amount of time. He's had a couple nice stretches, but the overall body of work is that of a 1B or a backup. And so, heading into the trade deadline, if the Avs are looking for another goalie at any point in this season, it probably means the end for Georgiev in Denver. It doesn't cost anything against the cap to send Annunen on or Kapanen to the minors, but adding a goalie before the deadline could be tricky given the salary cap implications. Here are the cheap options, all of whom are pending UFAs like Georgiev and Kähkönen. This is where the writer Mashishak goes out there and talks about a whole bunch of different ideas. Logan Thompson or Charlie Lindgren from Washington, Mackenzie Blackwood or Vitek Vanacek from San Jose, Vejmelka from Utah, and even Ilya Nabokov or Aiden Hill. But I wanted to dive into one of the main ideas that is tossed out here, Alex Lyon of Detroit. If he plays well enough for the Avs to want him, it probably means he's helping the Wings make a playoff push. But he's at $900,000 and has decent numbers in small sample sizes over the past couple of years. This article is just using Lyon's name as one of many names tossed out there as a potential trade target, but I wanted to dive into that idea a little bit more because essentially what I think the article is leaving out in this situation is if Alex Lyon is in a position where he's helping the Red Wings make a playoff push, I don't think there's any real likelihood that Steve Yzerman trades him away. Right? Lyon already bested himself out and won the 1B/1A starting backup position with Cam Talbot over Ville Husso, and we know that because Husso was already waived and sent down. Husso is also making an extraordinarily large amount of money, so it might have been unrealistic to expect anybody to claim him. But at the end of the day, you have Alex Lyon, who is here, doing his thing. He's been coming out with pretty consistent save percentages and has even started winning games with a .949 save percentage against Steven Stamkos and the Predators Saturday night, and we're in the spot. So for Alex Lyon, he's kind of started to get things into gear. And I think the only deterring factor as to whether or not Lyon is going to be in a position to be held onto is whether or not the team in front of him in Detroit can hold their own and consistently string together results that warrant Alex Lyon and his great play. Because seeing Alex Lyon do well, that's not surprising. He did that for most of last season, and he was part of the reason the Red Wings were even in the running to making the playoffs at the end of the year. Cam Talbot, I think, provides more or less the same caliber of goaltending, just with a guy who happens to be a lot older. Ville Husso is the only odd spot because he just completely sucked to open up the 24-25 year. He was great in the preseason, but man, was he not it in the regular season. Imagine saying that you wanted to roll with 3 goalies only to waive the guy that absolutely crapped the bed just 2 weeks into the year. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Stevie Y. So, if Lyon is in a spot where the Avalanche could realistically trade for him, the Red Wings would have to kind of fall out of playoff contention by the time February or March rolls around. If the Wings disappoint, which I don't want to say is going to happen, but I do want to say it's not impossible. If they suck, if they're in the bottom half of the league, bottom quarter of the league, by the time July 21st rolls around or whatever, then you might actually start opening the door to potential rental and trade options if you are Steve Yzerman, just to see what you could get to bolster up your team. Not to say that Alex Lyon isn't worth keeping around and signing and having him on for the long term, because, look, Cam Talbot is not going to be here forever. He's so old, and it's not like Sebastian Cossa or Trey Augustine are fully ready to take the next step yet. Alex Lyon would be a perfect stopgap of a guy, but if he is on an expiring deal and you can have some extra stuff brought onto your team, then why not make this kind of a trade? Maybe you could send over for one of Colorado's legitimate prospects. I like Oscar Olausson. I like Ivan Ivan. I mean, Ivan made the league, so good on him for being able to do that. Or maybe you go for a few picks, who really knows? Even Callum Ritchie's on this team. Anyways, do I think it's possible? I think it's possible. Do I think it's likely? That's a completely different story. I'd say probably not for now, considering the circumstances of the Wings, but hey, anything can happen, especially if Detroit starts losing. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about the idea of Alex Lyon getting traded over to Colorado? Do you think this would work? And if you're a fan of the Wings, what do you want from the Avs to make this sort of a deal go through? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And Bye.